Why is Wall Street continuing to invest in China, American businesses that do business in China? And then I see that the pension fund for the federal government, I guess, has now been deemed you cannot be investing in mainland China. Is this right, Nicole?
Yes. And remember in May 2020, when President Trump was in the White House, he's the first U.S. president to have a demand to ban the federal government employees pension fund from investing in the CCP-owned companies, which is absolutely a right move. But it took almost 4 years to get this done. So it was started in Trump administration. And I think that, it took such a long time because they need to take out the other emerging market stocks from the index. But it shouldn't take almost 4 years. And if the government can, clean up the San Francisco Strait in one day, why cannot stop American investors money or hard-earned dollar to the risky exposure to the CCP stock and funding the CCP's genocidal regime and human rights abuse in the Xinjiang concentration camps? I don't get it. So I think we need to thank 3 lawmakers, and they're all conservative, not surprisingly, Rick Scott and Marco Rubio, Senator Rick Scott, Senator Marco Rubio, and Congressman Michael Watts. All 3 of them are from the great state of Florida. They're the ones who've been pushing forward this legislation and demanding the American investors, retirement dollar to divest from the CCP company. And remember, we're talking about the service members. Our military people who are fighting, putting their lives on the line to fight for the national security every day. And then at the end of the day, their retirement savings are funding the CCP's military modernization. Yeah. And then that also include our elected officials because they're, and also federal government employees. I mean, their job is to protect America. And now, at the end of the day, their retirement savings are funding the genocidal regime in the concentration camps and the Uyghurs, the slave labor and all the human rights abuses in China.
Tim Cook goes to meet with Xi Jinping, $40,000 a plate, and then the next moment, Jon Stewart's fired because he was going to talk about China.
Well, I agree with you. This isn't an issue about Jon Stewart or, a Democrat or conservative. This is about an American issue that when American talk show hosts or artists or publishers have a different opinion from the CCP, and then you're going to get canceled out. And this is not just happening in mainland China. This is in America. This is not about targeting the Chinese audiences in China. This is about on U.S. soil targeting Americans. So this is a very, very concerning. But I'm not surprised because back in 2016, Apple CEO Tim Cook signed a secret deal with the CCP leadership worth about $275 million. And that is, he used that money to buy CCP's permission for iPhone product and services to be available in the Chinese market. That include the iPhone, iPad, and also iCloud computing services. So, and Tim Cook pledged to support the CCP's economy, but it was a secret deal. So very few media actually reported on that. And so don't be surprised that Apple has been, will do anything to satisfy Papa Xi's pleasure because more than one half of the iPhone produced by Apple are from the Chinese sweatshop. Yeah. And the Chinese consumers are buying up to like 20% of the total iPhone sales. So it's a lot of money involved.
Yeah. And so this is about business, I guess, for Tim Cook, with no regard for the American people, certainly no regard for the Chinese people under the thumb of the Chinese Communist Party. You mentioned Apple having all the factories in China where the iPhone is made. But there are other companies that are just absolutely beholden to the CCP, it seems. What is it about the CCP that manages to take hold of these American companies?
Well, the CCP does not want the American company to stay in China for long period of time. They only want the technology, they want the American company to train the Chinese workers and to surrender the state-of-art technology. And eventually they will replace you. They will throw you under the bus. So I think that's why a lot of the American CEOs, they're just looking at the next quarter earning call. They're not looking at what would happen to their brand, to their technology, 5 years or 10 years, because remember, the CCP is not your business partner or friend. Their ultimate game is to kick you out of China. The CCP has launched an unrestricted warfare on the U.S. many years ago. So this is not a kinetic military confrontation, but this is even more dangerous. It's a war of information, war of ideas, a war of ideology, trade war, and currency war. I mean, the CCP is absolutely attacking this country on so many fronts, financially, geopolitically, militarily. It's just like a lot of people in this country do not want to recognize this is a war. We are already in the war with the CCP. And this is, I cannot fathom why there's so many U.S., prominent company CEOs are still wanting to pay $40,000 just to sit down with Xi Jinping for dinner plate.
I guess it's to ensure that their company won't be kicked out of China before the other companies are.
They will get kicked out. And because we know the CCP, their game is to get the technology and get all the training, and eventually they will throw you out. And that's why Google is not in China, Facebook is not in China, and the CCP has created the copycats, the Me Too version of the US Facebook, of the US Twitter, of the US, search engine and cloud computing. And right now, the CCP-funded Huawei is increasing their competition against iPhone. So Tim Cook, mark my words, one day you will regret everything that you have done to kowtow to CCP.
Yeah, I think you're right. I doubt they will take the warning from you and from us, but they should heed it, because truthfully, it's going to hurt Apple in the end if they don't take the necessary steps to divest and insulate themselves from being reliant so much on China. Can you imagine they kick Apple out and they've got the factories there? There'll be a shortage of iPhone. It would be disastrous, Nicole.
Well, remember, Apple, Tim Cook is only paying $3 the hourly wage to Chinese workers. And so that's the only reason they want to keep their supply chain and factory in China, because it profits the company, it profits the corporate America, and profits the Wall Street. But it's not profiting the American people. It's actually sacrificing our fundamental American value. And this is the reason why that I hope government can do more to protect American people's interest and hold these corporate America accountable, because they're failing the American people. They're failing our national security.
And it didn't look like there were great precautions taken either inside that lab about making sure these things stay safe and not escape the lab when you looked at the absolute mess that was in there. Let me play just a little bit more of this.
HIV. The city also found approximately 1,000 transgenic mice used for research of human disease, which biolab workers told them were, quote, genetically engineered to catch and carry the COVID-19 virus. That discovery kicked off a 9-month effort by the city of Reedley to address the public health risk posed by the illegal, clandestine Reedley Biolab, and to investigate what had happened at that facility and what might have happened if Officer Harper had been less alert. Reedley city officials reached out to relevant law enforcement, public health, and regulatory officials about their shocking discovery. The FBI declined to investigate. The CDC refused to speak to them and, on multiple occasions, hung up on local officials mid-conversation. Finally...
All right, Nicole. The FBI refuses to investigate. The city of Reedley, it's a tiny little town, takes a 9-month investigation. The CDC won't do anything. What in the world is going on here?
Well, remember, the CDC was propagating the CCP's propaganda, about the true origin of the COVID-19, and the CDC also, are, not only sponsoring the CCP's propaganda, but the National Health Institute funded the bioweapon lab in China. And FBI was the last one to talk about the CCP's secret police station in Lower Manhattan. I mean, it's the human rights group, and it's the conservative talk show host like you who first broke the CCP police station in Lower Manhattan to the public attention. So FBI was lagging behind. I don't know what they're doing, but their job is supposed to be among the first to respond to the foreign threat, adversary threat on the U.S. soil.